Now I got something to show you, and it's gonna be something momentous. Hello everybody, it's me, the Excellent Reviewer, and we are back with another film review. I'm so glad that we're back with another film review. So let's talk about Stephen King, the man who has given us so many horror tales, such as Cujo the Dog, Pet Sematary, It, and lest we forget, Maximum Overdrive. Now, those movies will live until the end of time, but there's been one movie that's been more or less overshadowed by the popularity of those other films, and that is Apt Pupil. Now, I didn't even know this movie existed until I saw a video talking about it, and I knew that this was something that I wanted to watch for two reasons: Nazis and Ian McKellen. So without further ado, let's talk about the movie. Now, the movie starts off with Todd Bowden, who is played by Brad Renfro, as in the beginning of the movie, he is in this class talking about World War II, and he gets fascinated by the Nazis and everything that's been going on in World War II, so he decides to learn more about it in your local library, which you can do nowadays, and he wants to know more in a Nazi montage. Why do I get the feeling the Nazi rabbit from Fritz the Cat would absolutely love this movie? So then Todd sees pictures of a Nazi war criminal who he thinks lives in his city, and is played by Ian McKellen, the great Ian McKellen himself. So he follows this man around, and he basically becomes a freaky stalker because he outdoes what a creepy stalker would do. Let me tell you what this kid does. I shit you not, this teenager manages to take photos of Ian's character without him knowing, whose name is Kurt, by the way. And not only does he manage to secretly take photos, he manages to take his fingerprints from his mailbox without Kurt even knowing. He follows Kurt to his house and knows where he lives, and he managed to get those fingerprints examined at UC Irvine. Holy shit! This kid needs to work at the FBI. With his incredible talent like that, no one can stop him. And do you know why he does all of that? Goes through all this trouble to find out who Kurt really is? It's so he can find out what it was like, from the point of view from an actual Nazi, what World War II was like. Now, after that, he starts hanging out with this old Nazi every single day after school, telling him all about war stories and how Kurt killed so many people during the day. Ah, a simpler time. Before you kids, you had your iPhones, your tablets, and your whatchamacallits. We listened to old war stories. Maybe not from Nazis, but we listened to war stories. One day, after meeting up with Kurt the Nazi, Todd decides to give Kurt a present that he thinks he will love and will be over the moon excited about. And that is a Nazi costume? Okay, this kid has officially become the worst gift giver ever. I mean, could you imagine getting a present like that on your birthday or something like that? Wow, I can't believe I got this GoPro for my birthday. Holy wow. Look at it. Look how amazing it is. Oh, look at the quality. And my best friend, Todd Bowden, dropped off this box for me. I already unwrapped it. Let's see what's inside. Okay, hold on right there. Hold on right there. It's a Nazi costume. What else can I say, but I did not see that coming. first, Kurt doesn't like it when he decides, he doesn't like it, but Todd basically blackmails him into trying on the suit. And he also blackmails him into doing a traditional Nazi march. And no lie, he literally triggers the Nazi. And Kurt falls into old habits, doing the old salute like he used to do. But I do have to say one thing, because look at the smile on Ian McKellen's face when he's in a Nazi suit. That right there is priceless. Now, but it can't all be sunshine and rainbows, because the more time Todd spends with Kurt the Nazi, the more he begins to lose his friends, lose his girlfriend, and his grades start to slip. So, Kurt the Nazi basically blackmails Todd, and he even pretends to be his grandpa when he visits Todd's guidance counselor, and Kurt says that he will tell everyone in the world that Todd knew that he was a Nazi and didn't say anything unless he can improve his grades, which Todd, being a fucking miracle genius, miraculously does. And I'm telling you right now, the FBI need this kid to work. They need this kid because he can solve all the high-profile cases with his genius mind. Now, it's at this point in the review that I would like to point out that just the kind of relationship that these two have with each other, Todd Bowden and Kurt DeSander. And it's the fact, it's like family. Not so much a father and son relationship, but something like family, because these two characters, they have fights with each other, and sometimes they seem as though they don't like each other. But they always find a way back into each other's lives. They always find some way to be in each other's company. And they generally, in the end, as the story progresses, they do care about each other a lot. But Todd doesn't like the fact that he had to work so hard and being basically blackmailed into doing all this work at his school. So he decides to cut Kurt the Nazi out of his life. It's funny that just because Kurt blackmailed him to get him his grades, this was it. This was it, and he wanted to cut the Nazi out of his life. Not the fact that Kurt's a Nazi, that's not something that he wants to cut out of his life, but the fact that he blackmailed him into getting good grades. How dare you blackmail someone to getting good grades and have a good future? How dare you? I'm going to cut you out of my life. Why didn't I think of this? But it can't all be easy to cut someone out of his life, because what happens next is a montage of how Todd is happier without Kurt in his life, but yet there Kurt is. Kurt the Nazi seems to be at a movie theater when Todd is just trying to enjoy himself, so it seems as though he can't cut him out of his life, no matter how hard he tries. And one of those days, Kurt decides, fuck it, I'm going to put on my Nazi suit. Why? Because I'm a Nazi. He decides to put it on, and he notices something outside, and he hears that someone is digging through his trash can, and there's a hobo looking through it, and Hobo and Kurt, they happen to make eye contact with each other. And so a few days later, after that happens, Kurt is followed by the same hobo. And the hobo just wants a simple drink, and he wants a shower. That's all he wants. And Kurt is very resistant at first. But then he is like, okay. So they have a few drinks, getting along with each other, having a good old time. And then all of a sudden, Kurt decides to stab him, and he throws him down in his cellar. And all of a sudden, he calls Todd over to his house, because guess what? He's had a heart attack during this fight. And the reason why he calls Todd is because he needs Todd to finish the job. And he would do it himself if he could. He would do it himself if he hadn't suffered that heart attack. But he did. If he hadn't suffered that heart attack, he could have taken him out just like that. And there would be nothing and no one to stop him. Not even Sister Abigail. And so Todd arrives to the house. He doesn't know what's going on. He just knows that, that Kurt is having a heart attack. And so Kurt is like, look down in the basement, go down to the basement. He sees that there is someone there. And then he basically tells Todd, and after he locks him into the basement, that he needs to finish the job. And Todd initially just wants to get out of the basement, so he goes downstairs, tries to find some tools to break down the door. But when he does that, he finds out that the hobo is still alive. And Todd is forced basically to kill him. He's forced to hit him with a shovel so many times until he is dead. And Kurt unlocks the door and is like, okay, I need you to call the ambulance right now. And it foreshadows that Todd might just kill Kurt, his Nazi friend. But it turns out he calls the ambulance just in time, because if he did not, Kurt would have died. Now, leading up to that, Todd has a talk one more time with Kurt. He has a talk one more time in the hospital, and Kurt is like, can you stay with me? Just until I fall asleep. And he does. And in that meeting that they have one more time, Kurt is told through Todd that Todd took care of everything. He burned the Nazi suit. He buried the dead body. Everything has been taken care of. And then the next scene we have after that is Kurt is asleep, and then Todd talks to the person right next to Kurt the Nazi. And they're talking about, oh, this guy sounds familiar. He might have been in Germany. He sounds like he could have been in the war. Trying to foreshadow something, that there are some tones that might be there, that he might know something. And all of a sudden Todd leaves, and holy shit, the guy knows something. He goes to sleep for 2.5 seconds, wakes up, and he's like, this guy, I think I know who this guy is. He leans in close just to make sure, to verify that he is indeed Kurt Desander. He finds out, and all of a sudden, holy shit, he knows. He knows, because guess what? It turns out that he is a Holocaust survivor. What are the odds that a Holocaust survivor would be right next to a Nazi? Holy shit. He finds the nearest personnel, and he tells them, and he cries. And it's actually one of the most moving scenes in the whole entire movie. The fact that he survived so long, this atrocity, but it keeps haunting him. It keeps haunting him, and he is right now face to face with the monster who killed his wife, who killed his children. He is right there face to face, and is one of the most powerful scenes in the whole entire movie. So the next scene that we are treated to is Kurt waking up. He hears German. He hears German, his native language. They're talking and saying something. And this is the following sequence that happens. After that, the police arrest him. They say that they are going to transfer him to Israel, I believe. And after that, they decide they want to talk to Todd. Because now it's in the open that Kurt Desander is a Nazi. It's now in the open. So, yada yada yada. I'm just trying to get through the end of this review basically right now. They talk to him. They don't think that Todd had anything to do with it, and they go straight to the hospital where Kurt the Nazi is at. And it's at this point that Todd's guidance counselor, you remember him, comes to his house and confronts Todd. He says, what's the deal with your grandfather being a Nazi? And as this is happening, Kurt knows this isn't going to end well for him. Kurt knows that this isn't going to go good for him. So he decides that he's going to try to kill himself by giving himself an air embolism. And it's at this moment that Todd is basically blackmailing his guidance counselor not to say a word that he knew about the Nazi. He's trying to forget about it, and he says, unless you forget about this, I'm going to tell everyone that you, basically, is that you are gay and that you tried to sleep with me. That is a genius move from Todd, and this shows how devastating he could be, and he could be a phenomenal asset to the FBI. So after he blackmails his guidance counselor has no choice but to be silent, and he lives his life. And Kurt successfully kills himself not wanting to have the privilege, not wanting to have the government the privilege of taking him alive. And just like that, that has been the end to Apt Pupil. Holy shit, was that a good movie. Not only does this movie have suspense and action, but it has brilliant direction, acting, and an amazing soundtrack to accompany with it. Why this isn't one of Stephen King's lesser-known movies, I will never know, because this movie is definitely worth checking out. If you like suspense, horror, Nazis, and Ian McKellen, you need to check this movie out, because holy shit is it a really good movie. And that's been it for my official review of Apt Pupil. Do me a favor and let me know what you thought about the film, if you've seen it, in the comment section below. And also, let me know what you guys thought about the review in the comment section below. I thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to see more content like this, more reviews like this, along with everything that happens in the world of professional wrestling, then do me a favor and let me know. And hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And if you want to see more content like this, do all those things that I just said you should do. I've been Samuel V, aka The Excellent Reviewer, and I will see you all as soon as I can.